Welcome. I call this meeting of the commission this day, Friday, May 9th, 2025. I would like to also let the records reflect that I've enjoyed every second of the service in the commission. And further, I would like to reflect that I have loved you for the last 12 years. I will keep loving you until I die. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Let's start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Commissioner Menlove to lead us to that pledge.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I think Carlos is detained for a few minutes this morning, but he will join us shortly. So we're going to start the introduction of the commission first, and then UDOT family next. So I'm going to start to my right. Commissioner Lee, would you please state your name and your ranking, your jurisdiction?
I'm Commissioner D, and I'm an at-large commissioner. I'm actually living in Weber County.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Natalie Gochner. I represent Region 2, which is Salt Lake, Tooele, and Summit counties. And I work at the University of Utah and live in Murray, and excited to be here today. Beautiful day.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jim Evans, I represent Region 3. Start from Utah County, work my way east all the way out to where Kevin lives and everything in between. So good to be here for this meeting. Thanks.
And for the record, he's also the acting chair of the commission.
I do a lot. I'm not an actor.
Commissioner Kevin Van Tassel. I live in Vernal, Utah, and I'm a commissioner at large. Good to be here today.
I'm Commissioner Rhonda Menlove. I represent Region 1. Cash, Rich, Box Elder, Weber, Davis, Morgan. And I'm delighted to be here and appreciate this great opportunity to serve the state. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Bruce Adams. I live in Monticello, Utah. I former county commissioner in San Juan County. I represent Region 4, which is 14 out of 29 counties in the state of Utah. If you don't mind, I'd like to just make a statement. My family's been in the cattle business for 5 generations down in San Juan County. And in the fall, when we shipped the cattle, it was tradition for me to go to my wife before we went out to the corral to start working the cattle and shipping the calves and so forth, to apologize to her for anything that I would do or say at the corral that might offend her. So I'm going to do that today. I'm going to apologize for anything I do or say today that offends anybody here, and hope that I'm well behaved.
So do we.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. My name is Nagi Zanadi. I am coming from sunny St. George, and it is my pleasure to be chairing this commission for the last time today. Lisa, would you please start the introduction of the family of the UDOT?
Sure. Lisa Wilson, Deputy Director for Engineering and Operations.
Ben Hewitt, Deputy Director, Planning and Investment.
Heather.
And I would like to welcome Heather Barthold. We have missed you dearly. Thank you for being here. Thank you being so kind to me and the commission for all these past 12 years. Thank you. I miss you. I'm going to miss you the most. Rest of the UDOT family, start from Eric, please.
Eric Rasband, Region 3 Project Manager. Boyd Humphries, Region 3 Deputy Director. Andrew Glenn, Region 3 Program Manager. Lloyd from Region 1 Program Manager. Ron White, Region 1 Director. Nathan Peterson, Region 1 Deputy Director. Robert Stewart, Region 2 Director. Jared Beard, Region 4 Deputy Director. Kirk Dornock, Region 4 Director. Kevin Gator, Region 4 Program Manager. Bob Kelly, Tip Coordinator. Troy Peters in Operations. Brett Slater, T&D Director. Josh Van Dura, Trails and Transit. Jeff Lewis, Region 3 Planning Manager. Project Development.
departments along with project development. Stephanie Tomlin, transportation.
Peter Asplin, policy and legislative affairs. Tom Jacobson, commissioner designee.
Lisa Zundel, Region 2 deputy.
Program manager. Jeff Day, UDOT Region 2 planning manager. Kevin Huddle, program. Nathan Lee, technology and innovation. Jim Golden, Michael Tucker, structure portfolio manager.
Shelley Peterson, portfolio administration.
Grant Potter, UDOT communications. UDOT communications.
Did we get everyone? I was about to come to you, my dear friend. I would like to also recognize and welcome our partners. And that was the first one, Tweed Zenati, my dear partner, Wood Life. And we have UTA trustees, Carlton Christensen, Beth Holbrook, Jeff Acerson, and Jay Fox. Thank you for being here. And also our federal partners, Ivan Morero and Brigitte Mendel. Welcome. And we have also recognized our dear friend from Logan, Mayor Daines. Welcome, good morning. Thank you for being here. Did I miss anyone? If not, we're going to next item of agenda. Public comments. Mayor Daines, you have opportunity to check the floor.
I'm just here in support of item A1, Logan Main Street. Committed and here.
Hold on just a second. I think the microphone needs to be adjusted for you.
Again, just here to show support for the Main Street Underpass funding addition. We've secured our match and we appreciate this has been a long-term project coming in. We're excited to hopefully be able to go forward with your approval today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We also have Kevin Dwyer. I think he's going to be online. Join us, Kevin. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Hi there, thank you. And thank you to the commission members, UDOT staff, others in attendance. Really appreciate your time and efforts towards promoting traffic safety in Utah. Particularly, I'd like to thank Carlos and Kirk for the recent work in Moab, where I'm a resident, on reducing speed limits. Moab has for many years had one of the most dangerous main streets in all of Utah. Our fatality rate was extraordinary relative to comparable cities, and we appreciate the efforts at lowering that and getting us in line with other Utah towns and cities. I also want to thank UDOT for undertaking the process of examining crosswalks in Moab. Moab has a very unique situation in that we have a high population of vulnerable users in the form of pedestrians and cyclists. We also have a very high percentage, perhaps the highest percentage in the world, of vehicles dangerous to vulnerable users. These would include vehicles with high hood heights like trucks and vans and 4x4s and SUVs, and also vehicles with trailers. These create special hazards for Moab pedestrians. And then finally, we have the crazy condition of on most weekends out of the year and many weeks out of the year, 80% of our traffic is unfamiliar with Moab and its traffic patterns. And so that convergence of circumstances means that we really need to do extra work in terms of high visibility crosswalks and additional protections and crosswalks for those vulnerable users. So I really appreciate that work. We put in a formal request pursuant to 06C-27 on this matter, and I know you all are working on it and looking forward to the results of that and the implementation. It's very cost effective to make these high visibility crosswalk enhancements. It's just paint. And finally, I've spoken before about the speed limit setting methods that UDOT uses under 06C-27. And I know that those are 06C-25, and I know that those are up for revision in November of 2026. The current speed limit setting procedure relies as a base on the 80th percentile rule. I picked up this book last year. It's Killed by a Traffic Engineer. It's by a professor at the University of Colorado in civil engineering. And he looked at a lot of different traffic methodologies to determine how they are implemented and whether they are current with engineering standards and protocols today. And he found that basically a lot of traffic engineering protocols are based on heuristics. In 2022, the Brigham Young University College of Engineering did a study and found exactly this situation. UDOT was relying on old school methods, non-scientific and empirical methods to determine speed limits. And in their report, they recommended that UDOT adopt what's called a speed limit setting tool. This is a computer program that assists engineers in determining proper speed limits. So because that speed limit policy is going to be revised in 2026, now is your opportunity to put a budget item in for this coming year to implement the training and the technology that's going to be necessary to get you all on standard, on the same standard that Arizona and Nevada and Colorado and Idaho are using. And that's this federally recommended speed limit setting tool. So I appreciate your time. I hope you can put that into the budget, make that a priority. I think it'll be a benefit to all citizens of Utah and keep them safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dwyer. Thank you. Thank you for all you have done for us during reporting. But I assure you, you have one engineer in Colorado. We have hundreds of talented and dedicated and smart engineers in Utah. So we will do something for all of us to enjoy. Thank you. Any other comments from the public here? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wayne Benyon with the Wasatch Front Regional Council staff. Andrew Gruber, WFRC Executive Director, apologizes for not being able to attend in person, and he asked me to offer the following public comment. On behalf of the members and staff of the Wasatch Front Regional Council, we express our sincere appreciation for the leadership and partnership shown by Commission Chair Nagi Zanotti. Chair Zanotti exemplifies the values of respect, civility, and collaboration. To know Nagi is to be a friend to Nagi. He reflects the best of Utah values. Under his leadership, the department and its partners have achieved more than what could have been dreamed possible to invest in Utah's future and its quality of life. To quote Nagi's common refrain, thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Wasatch Front. Thank you. You've been wonderful partners with our business. Thank you. Any other? In person or online? Seeing none, I move on to the next item of agenda, number 3, UDOT scoreboard. Carmen, sorry. I'm too nervous for this morning. Swanwick is reporting first, and she will be followed with Troy Peterson.
Thank you, Heather. Good morning, Commissioners. Carmen Swanwick with Project Development. Just going to give you a quick update today on our project delivery status. As you can see here, we're showing we have 9 projects that are past due. 31 will advertise within the next 60 days. And you can see we have a very robust program as we have over 300 even coming in the, excuse me, outside of the 60 days. Just to speak briefly on the 9 that are past due, 4 of those will be advertised in the next 3 weeks. And the others are still working through some right-of-way situations and with the tribes. So that's why those are still delayed. Moving down into the performance here, we're right on track, about 85% advertised on time. We have 137 projects advertised this fiscal year, which is right in line with what we typically do, which is about 150. So we're on target to hit that mark again this year. And we're at about 1.3 billion. And that's in line as well, where we're typically about 1.5 billion for the year. And so we still have a few months to go. Okay. Going down and just to hit on this briefly, but we've advertised $32 million worth of projects in the last month. Looking down at our advertising status. Go up here for a second. God, it jumps around, sorry. You can see in the red, those are the projects that I've already spoken about. But you can also see all of the blue is what we're working on scoping and concepts for the next year. And so you'll see this ramp up as well. Moving on to the project count and construction contracts. As you can see, I can't see the number anymore, but I think there's about 163 projects that are actively in construction. We paid out about 1.6 billion, and we have just under $1 billion worth of contracts remaining. This is pretty standard for this time of year and what our program looks like. Moving into the contractor payments, you can see we started to ramp up. The weather's been nice. April, we paid out a lot, and you'll see May grow as we move forward. Moving down to engineer's estimate, I'm just going to kind of highlight over here. You can see in the blue, that's our engineer's estimate, and the green is what the contract amounts were for. You can see we're probably a little high, and I think we need to look at our estimates again, just because of where inflation was. I think we can go back and revisit where we're going to come in on some of those engineers' estimates. So that's what I think is happening right here. And that's my update for you today. I'm happy to take any questions.
Wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Troy Peterson, Operations Director. Here at UDOT, sorry. Real quick, I know we got some new commissioners. I always go right to the zero fatalities dashboard, but I want to kind of just guide you there to show you where it's at in case you're interested in looking at it any other time, other than commission days. But if you go to our homepage and you scroll down just a little bit, there's a tab here called Strategic Direction. If you click that one there, we'll bring up our strategic direction. And I always go right to our zero fatalities. Let that load for a second here. Okay, a couple of things I wanted to point out on the zero fatalities dashboard here. First, I wanted to highlight our fatality rate, 0.56 right now. That will change as the year moves along. Obviously, that's a calculation based on fatalities and our VMT, which if you look over here onto the right, billion vehicle miles traveled statewide, we're currently sitting at 12 billion in 2025. Scroll down here. Let's go to fatalities. So fatalities for the year, we're sitting at 64. And of that 64, actually, I think our goal, the orange line, that is our target line for reduction. And that is a calculation we use. We take the three previous years, average those out and reduce that by 2.5% as a target line to show if we're trying to make progress on that. You'll notice right now we're about let's see, 25% lower than the target line on the number of fatalities. This time last year, we were at 72. We're currently at 64, like I mentioned. Of that 64, I'm going to scroll back up, hoping no one's getting sick here. In our vulnerable user category, you'll notice we've got a graph here. Orange is the motorcycle fatalities for the year. We're sitting at 10. Pedestrians is the darker green, and we're sitting at 12. And then our bicyclists at 2. So a total of 24, approximately 38% of our total fatalities are in that vulnerable user category. And we'll slide down here to our suspected serious traffic injuries. Just wanted to kind of highlight suspected serious traffic injuries. What we mean by that, the reason I use the term suspected is it's an officer, as he's responding to an incident, will make a determination as if that's a serious accident or crash, I should say, or an injury. Sorry, if it's a serious injury. And there's no follow-up on that unless that person unfortunately goes fatal. And at what point we would track that somewhere. But if it's no longer fatal, then it's kind of a judgment call at that point. That's why we use the term suspected. And you'll notice that we're sitting at 489, which is above that target line for reduction that I mentioned before. I believe that's about 37% higher than we'd like to. I mean, we don't like to see that anyway, but higher than the reduction. Total traffic crashes, we're sitting about 16,000, and that's very close to what the target reduction is. I think we're about 1% higher than the actual target reduction number there. That's all I have for today on the zero fatalities dashboard. I always like to close that out with a reminder: always wear a seatbelt, drive sober, and be focused, calm, and alert behind the wheel. With that, if there's any questions.
Well, you may need to add another one to that 5 category. Don't drive stupid.
That'd be a great one.
Thank you, Troy.
Mr.
Go
Chair,
ahead.
would now be an okay time to just ask, and I don't know who the right person is, but I heard a lot of the news about the striping or the lines and some of the things that UDOT's doing on the lines on the interstate as a safety measure. Is there someone who can give a quick update on that?
You want to call a friend?
Do you all follow what I'm talking about? I just heard the news report and I just wanted to have a better feel for it.
Robert, can you give a status on the striping project? Most of it right now is in Region 2. That's why I'm asking Robert.
Robert Stewart, Region 2 Director. So wet night reflectivity continues to be the big hot topic of striping. Everybody can understand that when you're driving at night and it's raining, lines disappear. And that's because the reflective elements that we put in our striping take the light, bounce it around inside of the glass and shoot it back at it. And when you have a film of water on the top of it, the light just bounces off. So we have a new product that's specifically targeted at wet night reflectivity. And that's the striping you'll see on concrete pavements and the interstate system being deployed. We are about 3/4 of the way through getting all of that striping in. It's both better at night. It also is wider because wider markings have shown to improve traffic safety. And also it's got the shadow component to it. So you've got white followed by black. That actually helps with your with the car's sensors that we have in the new technology. That striping actually is picked up better by cars that are using like the lane keep, the lane assistance sort of technology. Does that make sense? So we are trying to deploy that on all interstates. And that's why a lot of it falls in Region 2, because that's where a lot of the concrete interstate system occurs. We're about 3/4 of the way done with that.
Thank you for that. I'm super excited about that and have noticed it and think it makes a huge difference for safety. And I think particularly as the population continues to age and vision isn't what it once was, that these are really important.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm falling into that same.
Thank you. I know that Region 4 applied that on the Black Ridge area of the I-15 Southern Corridor, and it was just made a big difference for driving under wet conditions. Thank you. Now we're pleased to hear from UTA trustees, which is an annual tradition report. I don't know who's going to be brave enough to start. All of you, yay.
I'm not that good looking, so I brought three with me that are. I'm Carlton Christensen. I'm chair of the board for the Utah Transit Authority, and I'm joined today by my two colleagues, Beth Holbrook and Jeff Acerson, as well as our executive director, Jay Fox. And we'll each take a couple of slides, and then certainly would welcome and entertain any questions you might have afterwards. Just as a note, this year we celebrate our 55th anniversary as a transit agency. When we were getting ready to celebrate our 50th, it was March of 2020, and we all knew what took place a couple weeks after that. So talk about timing. But we have a very positive story to tell 5 years later, and we're excited. Often we're asked if we provide transit throughout the entire state of Utah based on our name. We don't. We have 6 counties, but they represent 77 municipalities and in the high 70s to 80% of the state's population. And so what we do matters. And then, of course, Jay Fox, our executive director, manages the day-to-day operations and administration. As we look at our investment strategy going forward, we have 4 key areas that are important for us. One is, and this isn't, the first one really is something that has plagued transit agencies throughout the United States, and their lack of reinvestment into their system. And as facilities begin to age and even get to a dangerous proportion, we know that that simply isn't an acceptable standard. What it does impair sometimes is the deployment of new service, but we look for that delicate balance. We've been updating our fleet, and our fleet is in a respectable rotation cycle as far as buses go. We just entered into a new agreement to purchase light rail vehicles to replace our original aging fleet. And when they take 5 years to deliver, you just have to think a little further ahead. And then preservation, and then our facilities. We do have some needs in our facilities, both in seismic and in the maintenance of those. And so we're evaluating that. We obviously want our system to be accessible. We have been plagued by some long-term systems that we're replacing, all the way from our HR to how we schedule operators to our fare collection system. And so we're currently in the process of updating a number of our systems, and then improvement in our networks, and also looking to recognizing in our area that we have some very high growth areas that historically transit wasn't available to them, and we're trying to figure out ways in which we can provide that in a thoughtful and sustainable way. Jay?
Morning, Commissioners. I apologize for wearing a now out-of-date Utah Hockey Club lanyard. Well, one of the things that I, as the executive director, where I oversee our capital program and our capital work, that is now happening every day and collaboratively with the Utah Department of Transportation. The Utah Department of Transportation has direct oversight and authority over all fixed guideway development projects, as well as oversight over any other state-funded projects. I can tell you that that has been a very successful relationship. It works at every level, starting with my work with Carlos and the entire team. And it is very much responsive to our what I call our we planning. So it is not just UDOT and UTA, but it is our long-term planning with our metropolitan planning organizations and our communities. And so that's why I use the word "we" all the time, because it is not really UDOT or UTA that fulfills the transportation need, but it is our community as a whole that guides those investments in transportation. So these large projects require that type of coordination to get all the way from planning to construction to ultimately on the transit side, UTA operating those projects. I want to point out we have 5 projects listed. We often talk about these as our 2034 projects. How do we make sure that as a community we deliver as successfully as possible 2034 Olympics? But all these projects were part of our long-term planning before that was awarded, and so these are focused on our communities. I want to focus on 2, the front runner improvement projects, specifically that we call 2X, that will open the door to 15-minute peak service. Right now we're at 30 minutes. The way I often describe it is if you're driving up to a front runner station and you see the train pulling away, that means you have 29 minutes before the next train arrives. And so this is a critical project, not just for UTA, for UDOT, for our communities as a whole. One of the things that the Front Runner project does so successfully is pull or help solve the capacity issues on I-15. It essentially mirrors I-15 up and down its 80-mile corridor. And so it is incredibly important as Utah, which is one of the fastest growing states in the country, grows and more demand is placed on I-15, that we have a transit project that is there to work in tandem with it in terms of managing transit movement through our communities. And the importance of that project was reflected when Secretary Duffy, our new U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary, visited the region. This was the one project that he visited. This is what he sees as a very important project, not only to the state of Utah, but to the investment plans of the federal government. The other project I just want to point out is Mid-Valley Express. That is actually under construction right now, again, being done collaboratively with the Utah Department of Transportation, and will connect Murray and Salt Lake Community College and West Valley together. Again, another line that not only benefits our communities, but also looks forward to a destination for the 2034 Olympics.
Quick question there.
There's a
Oh, sure.
question, Jay.
You know, the University of Utah's new hospital plan for West Valley, does this affect that? Does this help with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I don't know exactly how the address.
Yeah,
is lined up,
I would.
but I know
I don't have the
it's a
route. and we could-
major investment. I do, but I would want to look it up.
Yeah.
I think it's further west, but what it does do, we have a lot of east-west systems on 33rd. We're adding one in, I think, next year on 31st South. And there's a lot of bus systems that connect into the Fairborn station where this will connect.
Okay.
So what it will really open the door both on patient side, but also on the employee side, and being able to access that hospital. And we'll continue to take that into effect as we plan.
Yeah, just something to watch. It is further west than the Fairborn station, but it will be a major fixture on the West Valley side. Yeah.
And I would add that Carlton used a really important word, which was system. And we talk about that a lot, that we operate a system. And so it is not just simply one line that is going to get you, but it's the connectivity of our network that delivers people to wherever they need to go each and every day. What drives our system is reliability and our 5-year service plan. So I want to start with reliability, and Carlton mentioned a little bit before. Our focus all the time is to protect what we got, which is making sure that we have a state of good repair. 50% of our capital budget is invested in ensuring that we have an SGR, a state of good repair. And maintaining our assets is a huge strength for the UTA, for the Utah Transit Authority, particularly when compared with other transit agencies around the country. Our local service is essentially our baseline service, what we have, as well as our 5-year service plan. And we were really very pleased just about a month ago on our April Change Day for the first time in quite some time, both generated by the pandemic as well as the labor crunch that everybody felt, to not only restore some service that was lost then, but to expand service as well. And in so many communities across our 1,400-mile service area, we were able to participate in celebrations with these communities as we open new service. And so that we look at that 5-year service plan all the time. And again, I use we as a collective we as our guide for adding new transit service. And we work with our communities, with the Utah Department of Transportation, with our metropolitan planning organizations to build that 5-year service plan each year, which is ultimately approved by our board. Rail service at the same time, again, same focus is on state of grid repair, more frequent service as I described, which is a key with the Frontrunner 2X project as we look on tracks and tracks, what we call our Tracks Forward program, to add additional frequencies there. Our goal would be to provide 7.5-minute service from the airport all the way up to the University of Utah through that program. And the other piece that Carlton mentioned as well is that we are procuring new light rail vehicles from Stadler. A couple of great things about that. One, we're purchasing them from a local manufacturer. So that means jobs in Utah and money invested in Utah. And two, it will provide us with ultimately, when we have those cars in place, a fully level boarding service. So right now, our Blue Line vehicles, you have to step up on, and if you have a mobility issue, we have these high board platforms that operators have to come out and load you on. This will provide a full platform level, fully level boarding system, and will put us right at the top in terms of accessibility for our system. So. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good morning, commissioners. I'm Beth Holbrook, the trustee, and I actually represent Davis Weaver and Box Elder. Thank you, Commissioner, for your service. You have done a great job, Rhonda, and we really appreciate that. I'm here to talk about first I'm going to hit there we go. One of the things that I think is always asked is, how does this add value to the communities? How do we look at our economy, and what does that look like moving forward? And so in 2023, we did a study with Metro Analytics that analyzed all of the infrastructure investments that were made for UTA. And just for context, the original plan for Frontrunner was to be done in the 2030 timeline. Now, what we did instead is, of course, we accelerated that. Excuse me. Sorry. We accelerated that, and we ended up investing in Frontrunner far sooner than the original long-range plan. And what this has done in this timeline, as a result of not just Frontrunner, but other lines as well, is generated this $9.6 billion more in goods and services. And that is a time savings evaluation and mileage savings. Anytime that you are no longer using a private vehicle on I-15 or other UDOT roads, you are saving other people who are accessing it. And so that is one of the key values as we move forward, because infrastructure is one of the key investments that we look at. We don't operate in a vacuum, no pun intended. We actually are looking at infrastructure from this: how do we deliver water? How do we deliver sewer? How do we do all of these other things in conjunction with our transit? Part of that is a housing as well, getting people to where they want to live or where they work. All of that workforce piece is also included in some of these values as we look at UTA and its investment in the Wasatch Front. As you can see, $377 million generated in tax revenue for Utah, and that's because operationally, we're peeling off some people off of those major corridors in transportation world onto transit, which means there's more mobility, more movement of goods and services. We found a unique study that originally was a federal study that said $1 equals $5 worth of investment into the local economy. Well, ours is actually $5.11. And that 11 cents is even more robust than you think when you consider the relatively tight geography that we have. As you guys build out roads, certainly you've got this private sector that's coming in behind to do these investments. And we have found that by getting people to where they need to go, housing again, workforce, all of these things create this environment that adds tremendous value to the Wasatch Front and off the Wasatch Front. I do want to emphasize that, and this is the next slide that talks about this, and this is courtesy of UDOT, so thank you. A lot of non-users actually benefit from transit along the Wasatch Front. As you guys know, it's a very tight corridor. And as we look at I-15, we know that that's not going to expand, certainly not in the Wasatch Front, because then you end up taking out economic development on the sides. And so how do we navigate this? And this actually talks about the number of people in a passenger car on rails, and which is front runner, just to reiterate that, versus having them on roads. And as we continue to experience growth, especially along the Wasatch Front, but certainly just on the shoulder counties as well, I recognize Box Elder in that, these are the things that are going to become very critical. I did want to talk a little bit, Jim Evans and I get the opportunity to serve on the HTRZ committee together. And those are investments that are very strategic to rail stops and BRT stops. And as we continue to evolve and navigate our increasingly challenging land use and zoning, these are going to continue to add value as well. And I think that as we continue to develop further, a lot of times it's west, so the western communities that Carlton talked about that are getting service, that's going to be a factor in how we continue to add value to users and non-users both. But also as we develop further south, Utah County, obviously looking at some expansion down there, going to be the fastest growing county. I am really excited to also, I serve on a national committee for legislation, and that is I'm APTA's legislative chair. And so as we look at federal investments in some of these really key projects, Frontrunner 2X being one of them, that's going to continue to add value. And you've already heard Jay talk about that. Secretary Duffy is took an opportunity to ride Frontrunner and is very supportive of what we are doing here. And so from the economics piece, this story is, I think, incredible. And I think as we continue to grow, it's going to be even more incredible with what we've been doing. So thank you for my part. I appreciate that.
Okay, I'll just show you from the Metro Analytics study that was done, the impact of what transit can have on our communities. 79,000 jobs directly or indirectly associated and supported by transit. You've got the access to opportunity through riding transit, 24,000. Jobs that are created through their earnings and spending, 31,500. I mean, it is a tremendous impact. We have the UTA employees that benefit. We provide employment for those that provide the service. And then the money that's stimulated in the economy because of their earnings. And then there is an additional 10,000 jobs created through the transportation savings through transit. One thing here's a visual that I think pictures sometimes tell a lot more than what you can verbally. This is a before and after of the S line, 2010 to 223, and you see the impact of that transit being implemented within that community. One thing that's courtesy, or at least that's going to be on your agenda in June, is the extension of that S line across to Highland Drive, which will once again extend that even further east. I believe that's going to be on your agenda in June, so we appreciate your consideration of that. And as mentioned, the Orange Line, that's one more expansion of our service that I think ultimately will bring great benefits economically. If we do get a Major League Baseball team, those of you that are in the know, that old Orange Line will provide access from the airport up to the University of Utah Research Park. Yes.
Just one comment on this S-Line photo. That's pretty compelling, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, really interesting. I do not ride the S-Line, but I am frequently on the bike path next to it.
Yeah.
And I just remind people that when we invest in places like this, all sorts of good things happen. And so I'm super happy with all that's happened around that. It really makes a difference.
this is one of several that we'll be able to show you going forward in the future as we invest, so. Carlton?
One question I would have.
Please.
Art, do you have how short are you on employees? Do you have all you need, or are you still struggling?
Are you applying for a job?
We're good.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, maybe what I would say is, a lot of our indebtedness built out the system that we have, the rail system. And that was done in a very challenging economic time. And I don't think anybody thinks that was money ill spent. We've benefited from it for well over 15 years. And unfortunately, that debt was a little longer term, and we didn't have the local option sales tax that, as a local official back then, that we said we would ultimately get to, which is about a 1 cent value. So it's limited us as we look at future growth. So that combination of how we work with UDOT, how we work with the legislature, whether it's through a local option or some kind of a state appropriation, I think if we're going to meet that need in the future, that's going to be a challenge. We can meet our operational needs today and with some expansion of local service, but any substantial increase in systems are probably going to take some additional funds. I just would note that as we recently rolled out some local service to tell you what it takes to put local service on the road. And over this next 5 years, we have a pretty aggressive local service plan that includes 9 million miles. But what often gets looked past in that is that requires 325 operators. I was in St. George a week ago, and I asked local officials, I said, when was the last time your agency went and hired 325 employees? And that almost, everybody was, you'd fight for 5. And so to be able to do that, 111 new buses. And then as Front Runner expands, that'll obviously take operations. So as you look at transit, you have to look at both the operational and capital side of it. And then I think it also behooves us as we work together to look at corridor preservation. There's this discussion of some magical corridors exist. And we both know that those corridors are pretty limited in what's available. So being able to jointly share those and think of that thoughtfully, think about operational costs as we also look at investment, and then also make sure that as we prioritize this, it helps keep Utah moving, which I know is your theory or your motto. We certainly welcome any questions. We know you have a busy schedule, but want to be respectful of any questions you might have.
Questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment that it feels like there's a lot of momentum, and really grateful for all of the leadership and vision that's putting this together. And as someone who studies the Utah economy and demographics, it's completely evident to me how important transit is to the success of this urban, setting. And so grateful.
Well, thank you. And we feel it, but we're grateful with our leadership as well as working together with UDOT. This, for the first time, like in my tenure as a public official, it's the first time that conversation has been lock and step. I mean, they've always been collaborative, but I think it shows the need.
Yeah, the development of being able to invest in rail cars that are manufactured here from an economic perspective, that is a really big deal, because it's money that would otherwise leak out of our economy, but instead it's here. And if you look at what Stadler is doing, they're employing Utahns, and they're really meaningful, family supporting, benefited jobs. And I think it's just a terrific vision for our community.
It was an economically competitive procurement, so we're grateful that they were competitive.
When you talk about taking vehicles off the roads, probably experienced that along with Trustee Acerson down in Utah County, and Orem specifically. I was involved just when some of those things were happening, and to see, people were wondering what's this going to do, but you look at the value of that, the UVX down there and the cars that's taken off that parkway, is just invaluable in terms of taking those cars off and the ridership for those 2 universities and all the other systems. So anyway, that's just one example of what you're doing to get vehicles off the road and extending the pass through. So anyway, I just love what you're doing.
We're seeing that with our partnership with you in Ogden as well. And soon, as Jay mentioned, in the Mid-Valley part of Salt Lake County. So thank you.
In behalf of Commission and the UDOT family, we would like to extend our love and appreciation to all of you for the joint partnership we have, and we have enjoyed immensely. We don't envy your responsibility, your job, your calling, but we admire what you do for the state. But Mr. Chairman, don't forget, Utah does not end at the Utah County. Goes beyond that. So I'm still hoping for a speedy bullet train from Ogden to St. George.
I am too, by the way.
Okay. Thank you. You're going to join us for lunch, I hope?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next item of agenda is consent agenda, and I can see that Ivan Hardell is coming to present that.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Ivan Hartle with Financial Programming for the department.
Would you rather talk about your trip and your fishing trip rather than doing this?
I did take a picture of a woebegone shark. That was my goal.
Okay.
It was awesome. They're a lot of fun.
Maybe you should include that part of the presentation.
Yeah, we'll save that for the lunch.
Okay.
Our item number 5, part of the consent agenda, included in the consent agenda packet are the minutes for the March 27, 2025 programming workshop, our staff update meeting, and March 2028 Transportation Commission meeting, as well as a list of projects. The projects included in this exhibit have either been awarded, have identified budget amounts that can be recovered, or in the closeout process and have funding available to remove and reprogram. So our first item, the programming workshop that was held on Thursday, March 27th, introducing the programs, the asset conditions, and then the proposed values. We have our minutes in our packet. Down through. And our staff update also held the same day. Then the next day with a commission meeting on Friday, March 28th. We have our minutes from the commission meeting itself. And then finally, our list of projects that we're proposing to change the project value and be able to utilize that funding quicker on additional projects, taking advantage of these program balances. So our request today is a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion, comments, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 5 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to item 6, the programming items for the beginning with 6A1, the underpass below SR 8991 at Logan River, which is 600 South. This is a funding addition from our TIF active funding. This project is to install a pedestrian underpass under Logan Main Street near the north side of Logan River, which will connect an east-west Logan River Trail. This project was recently advertised and received bids. Due to increased prices and tight funding, the project now needs these additional funding to manage potential change orders during the construction. You can see that on our table, it's both UDOT funding as well as local funding. Located here on our map. Seeing the connection. Additionally, we have a letter signed by Logan City committing the 50% or the $300,000 of support. And our request today is a motion to approve additional funding to the underpass below SR 8991 at Logan River project as detailed.
Mr. Chair? I'd like to make that motion. And I'd like to compliment UDOT for working with Logan City for some an innovative solution here to connect trails in Logan City. And this will be highly used and very important little piece of a trail connection, and this additional funding is needed to complete the project.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments? Yes, go ahead,
Just as we
please.
talked yesterday, just traffic through Main Street, not everywhere in Logan, that's, you no way want people going across the street right there, either bikes or walking, so just I see this as a great safety benefit for the community up there.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-1 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you go forward, I would like to welcome Carlos Viceres in one piece. That's wonderful. Good to see you, Carlos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry I'm late.
Thank you. Go ahead, Arvin.
Thank you. Next, item 6A2, it's a park and overpass and Bamberger Railroad Bridge on 500 West. This is a funding addition of $900,000 of the Transportation Solutions Fund within Region 1. This project is a local government project with Bountiful City as the sponsor to remove an existing vintage railroad structure with a new at-grade signalized intersection at 500 West, the 200 and 400 West, and connection to Woods Cross High School. The proposed funding increase amount would be used in the install of the new at-grade signal. This was approved by the Wasatch Front Regional Council during the 2025 TIP approval process. So located here on our map, and our request today is a motion to approve adding funds to the park and overpass and Bamberger Railroad Bridge 500 West as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I would move for approval.
Thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-2 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item, 6A-3, the Salt Lake City Mobility Environmental Analysis. This is a funding addition of the Transportation Solutions Program of $500,000. UDOT has been tasked with completing mobility and environmental impact analysis of the Salt Lake City greater downtown area by Senate Bill 195. The study area is from I-15 to Foothill Boulevard and 600 North to 2100 South. The study will assess the impacts within the study area of implementing a highway reduction strategy on arterial and collector highways, including the impacts to other state and local highways, mobility, traffic flow, pedestrian, and non-motorized vehicle flow, and the economy, public health, quality of life, air quality maintenance, and operation. See the next section is the actual language that comes from the 2025 General Legislative Session, Senate Bill 195. The original $250,000 was approved on April 16, 2025 by the Deputy Director authority given in the Utah Transportation Commission Policy 01-01. Located here on our map showing the study area. And our request today is a motion to approve adding additional funds to the Salt Lake City Mobility and Environmental Analysis Project as detailed.
I got a
Yes.
question. Can someone describe the deliverable to me? I mean, I know what an EIS is, but tell me I want to understand how this advances public policy in the state, transportation policy.
I'm going to phone a friend if that's all right. Preference?
I don't know if the question is exactly right, but I'm just trying to figure out what we're voting on. Is the EIS what does it tell the state and the city that makes life better in the downtown and extended area?
Yeah, so this was direction of leadership from the legislature, and there's a conflict that has been created between those who are trying to promote a more active transportation system versus those that want to make sure that you have good access by vehicles and trucks. And so this is an effort to try to quantify as best as possible the mobility benefits as well as what some say are the negative impacts of lane reductions on the environment and the business community. And so I think
It's broader than state roads.
it's I think more, we're going to look more to try to confine it as much to state roads, but there was an effort to try to expand it, and there's an interest in looking at all roads on this case. I look at this as a vehicle for us to have a conversation with all the community and to help facilitate that conversation. I'm not sure what this looks like in the end, to be honest. I'm not sure if there's a win in this.
And then related to that, but the cost increase, if we don't know exactly what the deliverable looks like and things like that,
This
how
is
do we
get-
figure that
What
out?
this is doing is we needed to get this going as quick as possible. And so that was the initial funding, was up to the authority that Lisa, I don't know who did it, Lisa or Ben, Lisa had. The fiscal note on the bill was the total amount here. And so that was a negotiation during the bill making. And so is this enough money? Is it too much? If it's, if we don't spend all the money, it goes back to the transportation fund for the commission, but.
Yeah, just to paint a picture for my fellow commissioners, this is one of these very complex kind of interrelationships between a state and a capital city. And I spend a lot of time in the capital city, and I'm seeing what is happening, and it is different. Big time bike paths, lots of active transportation. Interestingly, at times when I see it, I capture the vision because I see these communities on 9th South coming alive with people on the streets and walking and cycling and e-bikes. While at the same time, a large employment or commuter shed is like, powering through. And it is understandable to me how local elected officials feel like they should be able to control their destiny and what their population wants on their streets. And they love this active transportation. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to the state as a capital city and how that shakes out. So I just really want to see the state and the capital city recognize the social contract they share and have this study help improve that relationship and that contract rather than rip it apart. And I pledge as a commissioner who represents this area to be involved, and I'm happy to lend whatever economic or demographic expertise to it, but let's not have this be a tool to divide the state and the capital city, but rather to bring it together and see that balance. And I would just invite people who aren't seeing it that way, who are thinking about mobility and moving cars, to just go see the life on the street that they are creating for their neighborhoods.
If
Commissioner
Mr.
Lee?
Chairman, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Let's see if the Commissioner Lee has a question first.
Well, go ahead, Carlos. I think you might have an answer to my question.
I don't know if I have any answers on this. I will say that Mayor Mendenhall and I have had many conversations on this, and we're committed to work together to try to achieve a fair outcome on this. I did have a large group of the business community who were I'll say the generators behind this idea, come into the office a couple weeks ago. And it was interesting to hear how passionately they see from their perspective. And they have not felt like they've maybe been part of the process in some of the decision making. It's kind of weird for the state now to be inserted into this, to be honest, but we've been working with Salt Lake City Engineering and Public Works, have a great relationship there, and been working to try to scope this out to figure out what this might look like going forward, so that we can all both the city and the state, because we do have, the state feels very strongly that the capital city represents the entire state as well. And so they feel a little bit probably more ownership in this city than we would in other cities.
Part of what prompted my question about, is this just state roads or other? Because I have this vision that state roads are to, deal with mobility. But the other roads seem to me to have more of a neighborhood feel. And I don't think it's right for UDOT to come in and impose things on those other neighborhood streets. And I'm just kind of thinking about, I cycle a bit. Some of you know that I often cycle to jazz games along Main Street. And they've given a big protection for us along Main Street in South Salt Lake for our cycling. And I so value it. And every time I see our, you know, zero fatalities and I see the vulnerable population in the cyclists, I'm grateful that somebody is looking out for us. And so we need to be mindful of that. And it's okay to ask cars to slow down. It is okay. So let me know how I can help. I support this and I'll even make the motion to do it. I just think that let's not just, you know, brush this aside. This is a really big deal.
Yeah, Commissioner, I appreciate that. And, you know, we've been working with communities. We've slowed traffic down. We've reposted, you know, the state trail network is something that we believe passionately in. You know, I think this is going to come down to this concept that not every road can be everything for every person, every use.
Yeah.
And maybe the conversation.
Don't be putting those bike paths on State Street.
Maybe it's
mean,
just
you know,
about, maybe it's just part of the, you know, maybe the success here is the conversation.
Happy to make the motion for
Thank
this.
you. Commissioner Lee, you still have a question?
Yeah, and my question, and you did answer my question, by the way. My question was, I think this is an effort. I'm not sure so sure the fiscal note will cover to the end of this project, because I don't see an end quickly as you get everybody involved that you've been talking about getting involved, which I think is a necessary part of this to bring it on. So I guess with that fiscal note in mind, and with some of the comments that I've heard today again, I'm wondering, is there an end? Do we have some type of a calendar that says when this project will end? And I don't hear that yet.
Yeah, we never, I'll say deliberately, we don't ever give you a calendar on when it's going to end because we have to manage within cash flow. And this is a very open-ended. I don't know if Lisa or Region 2 would be prepared to answer that question. Do we have milestones set? See anyone Region 2? Oh, there he is. Hiding behind Carlton. Carlton's moving.
No, he's hiding.
I think a big guy from Region 2, you can't hide behind. Let's do this, if it's okay, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. Let us get back to you. We have been negotiating with Salt Lake City on what the scope of this looks like and roles and responsibilities that we'll take between. We'll report back to the commission on where we end up with those negotiations.
Okay, I have full faith in you, Carlos, as our executive director, that our negotiations with the city and those businesses will be in good faith. I'm just wondering, will it ever come to fruition with some type, when we can say, oh, look, here's this study, this will work.
Sorry, but this is all part of the record.
Sorry, twice in one meeting. Robert Stewart, Region 2 Director. I think that there is a milestone within the legislation that requires us to present to an interim committee on October 15th. So that is a milestone that's set in the legislation for us to report to that interim. Doesn't give a finality to it, but I think it gives that interim milestone.
How wonderful would it be if we could go to that interim committee and have the mayor and UDOT and business leaders bringing a solution? That's what we should aim for.
Absolutely.
That's utopia.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes.
question. Do we see this as a broader discussion? I see this on a very small basis in Garden City, where we're faced with businesses and lots of pedestrians and people who want to recreate and bicyclists. I see this discussion happening and competing interests, and I'm just wondering if this isn't maybe a broader discussion as well, or do you see this as just limited to Salt Lake City?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead,
if I
please.
could. It's a great question, Commissioner, and I don't see this as limited. I see this as a little bit of the canary in the coal mine. And what I'm taking away from this is our approach to active transportation, because you, as commissioners, we've been around the state many, many times, and it's remarkable how many times you hear about the need for more pedestrian, cycling, and making it safer. You know, there's lots of road needs, but a lot about that. And I think how you approach this is, what I'm taking from this is, you have to be careful when you take away something to provide for something else. I think we need to find ways to not take away a lane, not take away an access for a business, but also how do we also provide that safe bicycling and walking access? And there has been a little bit of subtraction that has gone on in Salt Lake City, and by necessity, there's only so much room. There's a very built-out environment. So it makes what they're trying to achieve very, very difficult without a little bit of that subtraction. But I think it was happening incrementally, and it reached a point of, I would say there was another piece that I'm editorializing here more than I should. But I think there's another piece that played into the frustration that built, and that is the amount of construction and permit work, utility work that's taking place in the community. So there's a lot of impacts to moving around, driving around Salt Lake City that are temporary. But you couple that with the permanent things they're trying to do, and you couple that with these temporary, then all of a sudden people are feeling quite impacted, and the path they normally take isn't as accessible as it used to be. And so, and utility work in a built environment takes a lot longer than it does in other spots. And so I think you layered that on top of it, and folks, all of a sudden, we cooked the frog a little bit, and we got to a point where it's now people are concerned.
Carlos, I think those are really good points. And just for fellow commissioners, particularly downtown Salt Lake City, but even broader, Salt Lake City is on the rise from a demographic perspective. Its growth rate is about twice the state average. And that's happened at a time when Provo and Orem are declining. Central cities are getting smaller as they, their natural growth maturation. But Salt Lake City hit the bump where now dynamic kind of urban living is taking off. And it makes it so you have the Red Line being redone in downtown. You have the Salt Palace being, reconfigured, a whole new downtown, all that we saw just on Capitol Hill. It's an extraordinary amount of construction and change, and it makes for these kinds of discussions for sure.
Commissioner Evans.
We have this wonderful initiative in the state with the Trails Network, and I love the Trails Network, but also if you're going to use it for mobility, you need to be able to get the jobs in the other places in the community too. And so I love the Murdoch Trail. I love all these other things we're doing and use those. But once again, as I sit here and think, these are connecting points. And so that's why this actually ties into what we're doing with that too. So I like just hearing that we're trying to figure out how this works.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair, if Commissioner Gochner was a motion, then I would second that motion because I want to see it start.
Okay.
Unless we start talking, we'll never even find a direction where we're headed. So I think that's a good thing to start. I think you're still a
Okay,
little
we have
short
a
on the
motion.
fiscal note,
And
but I think we'll get there.
We have a motion and a second. Without further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-3 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. 6A-4, this is a Pioneer Crossing Improvements Phase 1. It's a funding addition from the Transportation Investment Fund. Again, this is some of the projects that we discussed in the staff update yesterday. The scope of the Pioneer Crossing Improvement Phase 1 project is to install flex lanes between Mill Pond Road and Redwood Road. This will increase the total number of lanes from 5 to 7 and will allow for varying numbers of lanes in each direction depending on the time of day. The additional funding includes an option for an accelerated delivery schedule. This will minimize the overlap of the construction on both Pioneer Crossing and 2100 North and will add a capacity during construction by providing 3 lanes in each direction. The additional funding also covers the following items that have been identified as the design has progressed. Shoulder reinforcement, some drainage improvements, increased structure costs, additional westbound turn lane between Pioneer Crossing and Mountain View Corridor, and the accelerated delivery schedule. So located here on our map, an image of the flex lane configurations and how that will be used. additional graphic on our flex lanes, the evening and morning rush hours and the normal configuration. And our request today is a motion to approve adding funds to the Pioneer Crossing Improvements Phase 1 project as detailed.
I want to make a motion to approve, and then after a second, I have a comment I want to make.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion and a second. Now it is a comment
I
time.
know along with you, Mr. Van Tassel, I have, so 2 of my 3 children live in West Lehigh. I can get there about twice a week I'm out there, and it's either Pioneer Crossing, Lehigh Main Street, or 2100 North. It's a no-win situation unless I go at midnight or something. And so this needed to be done a long time ago. And I think this is a great bridge to at least get it so we can figure out what other roads we're going to do out there. So I just think this is so critical that we get this project done. I applaud UDOT for having a project like this that can at least try to get it quickly to move traffic again through that area. So
I'm just smiling. This is the first time I've heard the term West Lehigh. Wow.
there's an east and a west.
You follow what I'm saying.
I
It's
know
grown
you-
to the point that it has a West
I
Lehigh.
know. No, not just cattle out there. Yeah,
Any other questions, comments? Then, yeah, go ahead, please.
The only comment that I make is this is taking an existing resource and multiplying the effective use of it. And I think this is what we need to be doing. And with all the other projects that's coming in, it's above this, below, this needs to be operated.
Yes.
That'd be my comment.
Thank you for the comment. With that, all in favor of this project, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item 6A-4 is approved.
Thank you. 6A-5 is the SR 241 Orem 1600 North to 1200 West to State Street. It's a funding addition also from the Transportation Investment Fund. SR 241 to 1600 North in Orem and 600 South in Linden was transferred to UDOT in November of 2019 with anticipated plans to widen 1600 North to provide 5 lanes from I-15 to State Street. The SR 241 Orem 1600 North to 1200 West to State Street project widens SR 241 from 3 to 5 lanes from 1200 West in Orem to SR 89 or State Street. The project cost estimate was refined in 2022 as part of the environmental study and has been further refined during the design process. The total project estimate is based on the final design, executed utility relocation agreements, and the right-of-way acquisitions. The project requires an additional $31 million to complete the right-of-way acquisition and construction. So located here on our map, 1600 North. And our request today is a motion to approve additional funding from the SR 241 or for the SR 241 1600 North from 1200 West to State Street project as detailed.
Go ahead.
Well, I should have taken a video this morning when I left about 7 a.m. I was going towards the freeway from State Street, and it was bumper to bumper traffic from the freeway going up to State Street and beyond, going the other way of people going to the research park and the businesses there. So it's not even just, and I usually think I know coming back during the commute after that, it's busy. But I couldn't believe how busy and backed up it was there. The reason I think we found out, and Eric can come over and respond to this, but as I've talked to them about why are the costs going up, is when we took this over from the city as UDOT, we found out that infrastructure, a lot of other things, the road was a lot worse condition than I think we thought it was. And there's been a lot of other work that has to be done when you did the environmental study. And so there's one power pole on the corner of 12th West and 1600 North. It's going to cost between $750,000 and $1 million just to move that power pole. And so it is an expensive project. And once again, I'm not an expert. I just in talking to them, I know there's a lot of things that we found that didn't realize when we took that over, but it needs to be finished. I mean, a lot of the houses have been taken out, the work's going on. So I've moved for approval.
Thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and the second. Any other discussions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Aye. Any opposed? Item 6A-5 is approved. Thank you.
Our next item, 6A6, US 6 Chicken Hollow to Tie Fork. It's a scope and funding addition. Also from our Transportation Investment Fund, as well as our HSIP, which is our Traffic and Safety Program. The scope of the US 6 Chicken Hollow to Tie Fork project is to widen the section of US 6 to 5 lanes between milepost 194 and 197, improve the Sheep Creek intersection, and to extend the pavement life through pavement preservation between milepost 89 and milepost 201. During the project design, the design team made a recommendation to add median barrier to the section of this project to improve safety along US 6, along the US 6 corridor in conjunction with other median barrier projects within the canyon. The additional funds are needed for the barrier design and excess material disposal. So it's located here on our map on US 6. Showcasing our intersection improvement. And our request today is a motion to approve scope and funding increase for the US 6 Chicken Hollow to Tie Fork project as detailed.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I travel this road often, and I appreciate what UDOT's doing to try and improve US 6 as well as 191. We chip away at it a little bit at a time. Eventually, we're going to have a safe road through the canyon there. So I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'm
I'd like
happy
to
to,
second.
okay, go ahead.
Oh, second.
And I'd also state that this takes out one of the, we come down, we're coming up 4 lanes, 2 in each direction. We go to 2, then we come back to thing. This is just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
My question is that I understand the Sheep Hollow because the sheep used to get lost there, but what is the chicken to do with this neighborhood? Just chicken. Is that what it is? Okay. That's education. Any other comments, questions?
I'm excited to support this. I just wanted to know if this intersection, which side of the summit it's on. I was just trying to get a visual. I wanted this
West side.
west side.
As you come out of the Narrows,
Mm.
you go into kind of a widened section for about a mile, and then Sheep Creek is, you're going east here, is on your left.
Yeah.
There's an
okay.
old gas station used to be
Yeah.
there.
Very good.
With that, then, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-6 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item, 6A-7, this is the Bridge Formula Program project funding additions in the Elwood Town area. There's 2 projects. The scope of PIN 19475 is to replace a locally owned bridge carrying 9600 north over the Malad River in the town of Elwood. The river flow analysis for the Malad River required the bridge to be raised and lengthened to provide an adequate opening for a flood event. The bridge width was increased from the concept estimate to provide more width for agricultural equipment to pass over the bridge. The bridge is on a federal aid highway system, therefore Elwood Town will fund the 6.77% local match, and the remaining addition will be funded with the Bridge Formula Program federal funds. Elwood is in support of this, increasing this project value. Additionally, there is a commitment letter attached to this, our packet materials. The scope of PIN 21147 is to replace 2 locally owned bridges carrying the Malad River in the town of Elwood. The bridge 003034F carries 6,000 west over the Malad River, and bridge 003037F carries 8,800 north over the Malad River. The river flow analysis showed that the spans needed to be increased to lower the velocities under the structures to mitigate future scour potential. The bridge width was increased from the concept estimate to provide more width for agricultural equipment to pass over the bridge as well. These bridges are not on the federal aid system, therefore no local match is required, and it will be funded through the Bridge Formula Program federal funds. What is in support of the increase of this project value. Located here on our map are 3 structures. Included in our packet of materials, we have pictures of the bridges. Our motion today is a motion to approve funding additions as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make that motion. I've driven in these areas and this is a high need and especially important for agricultural production. And you can see from the pictures that these are in a need of repair.
Thank you. There's a motion and
Mr.
a
Chair, I'd
second.
like to make a
Go ahead.
comment
Go ahead.
on the motion. We are not as big an agricultural state as we used to be, but we are an agricultural state, and I come from an ag county where ag is the biggest contributor to our economy. And I know as these farmers try to farm in an efficient way, their equipment is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. My wife's family farms about 10,000 acres of dryland farmland. Some of their equipment is 65 or 70 feet wide once they unfold it. But they do have, they have challenges trying to get from one field to another and across bridges and down highways without creating road rage and all of those kind of things. But I appreciate all that UDOT does to help the agricultural people in our state be able to maintain what they're trying to do and try to make a living. A lot of these farms and ranches have been handed down for generations, and they want to keep farming, they want to keep ranching, and so we need to help all we can. Anyway, that's just my comment today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6A-7 is approved. Thank you.
He said demolition's already started.
Our next item, 6A-8, is the Main Canyon Road Phase 2 from milepost 2.8 to milepost about 4.6. This is a funding addition from our Joint Highway Committee program that we discussed yesterday. The scope of the Main Canyon Road Phase 2, milepost 2.8 to milepost 4.59 project is to reconstruct the pavement on Main Canyon Road, provide 11-foot travel lanes throughout the project, and widen the road to provide 5-foot shoulders along 2 different sections of the corridor. Our recent engineer's estimate determined that the original funding amount was not sufficient to perform the full project scope. Wallsburg Town worked with the Joint Highway Committee to propose the addition of necessary funding to allow the full project limits to be constructed. This project request was reviewed by the Joint Highway Committee during the fiscal year 2025 project selection cycle and has been recommended for approval. So located here on our map, our request is a motion to add funding to the Main Canyon Road project as detailed.
Mr. Chairman, I've had reason to travel this road several times. And this is very much a needed project. There is quite a bit of recreation and youth camps that are up at the end of this, and it packs during the summer months, pretty heavy load. So I would recommend approval.
Thank you.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. Comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 6A-8 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Also included in the packet was the letter of commitment from Wallsburg Town for their portion of the funding increase as well. Our next item, 6A-9, these are project combinations in Region 3, Region 2, and another set within Region 3. These individual projects have previously been approved through commission action. Project combination is done to provide efficiencies in project delivery, and no action is required. Our next item, 6B-1, in the March 2025 programming workshop, The department presented proposed values for the programs utilized to preserve, maintain, and operate the transportation assets owned by the state of Utah. The graphic below is the proposed values for each of the programs. And as we've discussed yesterday in our programming workshop, and then also in March, we have the individual programs, what the 2025 funded value was. 2026, the graphic shows anything in blue was previously approved. The items in tan are those items that we're requesting approval. And our request today is a motion to approve the proposed program values from the March 2025 programming workshop as detailed.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you for that. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item that 6B-1 is approved. Thank you.
And that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. Item number 7, corridor preservation, and let's see, our dear friend Ross Crow is coming to present that.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So on our financial reports, as of 2/28/25, we had a beginning balance of $73,097,000. We had total revenue in that period of $1,067,000 and expenses of $79,000, which includes an administrative support as well as various expenses that go with running the properties. And occasionally we also have demo expenses, which end up being charged back to the corridor preservation account and then paid back by the project when the project gets its funding. So we're handling demolitions early because sometime we don't really want people in empty homes creating damage or causing trouble in the neighborhoods. So it's best that if we can take them down early before the projects has all their funding in place to take them down. We also use these demolitions to work with local fire departments and police departments for their employee training and dog training. All right, so our fund balance at the end of February was 28 million with an obligation of 45 million. Our estimated total request today will be a de-obligation of an IPA front runner project that was simply a hold that we put on the project last year, and a smaller property that got acquired by someone else. So on March 31st, 2025, our forward balance was 74 million. Our total revenue was 1.2 million. One of our highest months because of everyone getting their skiing in. Our expenses were 82,000 and our fund balance was 75,244. Obligations that are not yet dispersed, 45,672,000. Mostly projects that have been approved over the last 4 months. And this results, including the de-obligation, in a fund balance of 29.5 million. When we roll back in the de-obligations, it takes the balance back up to 48.197 million. Here's every commission report on the revenue cycle and expense cycle for the fund, where you can see the highest months in the winter for the skiing, but really high activity in the summer for all of our summer and trails vacationers and residents. The first agenda item we have is 7A-1. On August 16th, 2024, the Transportation Commission obligated funds are placed on hold for the possible purchase of a property from IPA, Intermountain Power Agency, located at 350 North, 650 West Springville. The proposed purchase was to facilitate a long-term future plan for a maintenance facility for Front Runner rail equipment. The property was appraised at $18,045,000. The seller has removed the listing from the marketplace for a variety of reasons. UDOT would like to deobligate the funds for the purchase amount of $18.45 million and return the funding to the Corridor Preservation Fund. Should the facility be placed back on the market again, it can be determined at a future point if the purchase is appropriate for the fund, subject to changes under HB 229, Legislative Session 2025, Article 35, which states that it can be used for transportation facility. That was an addition to the corridor law. We couldn't use fund money for transit until that was corrected in this session. And that's defined as a highway or a fixed guideway, rail lines, which includes transit. I do believe that the legislature passed a law that the IPA site and their power plant in southern Utah were directed to keep running, keep operating, keep the coal industry going, probably in alignment with federal thinking today. And we believe that has had a big factor in why they took it off the market. But maybe someday there's an opportunity. So the advisory council has given a favorable recommendation to approve this request to deobligate the $18,045,000. I'd like to request a motion.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll second that motion, and I'd like to make a comment in that language we just saw, the discussion that we've been having about transit and corridor preservation, and that's been a great discussion, and I think very worthy. And I'm going to make a personal comment now. As we're looking at corridors, possibly exploring corridor preservation for trails as well, because we're putting roads and UDOT's now placing trails along many roads. And so just a little personal pitch there. Thank you.
So there's a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7A-1 is approved. Thank you.
So we really are trying to listen to Rhonda's requests. And on our standard deed document that we use to acquire land, a good example would be corridor preservation land, we're modifying the deed to say sidewalk and trails so that we have the flexibility to be able to turn some of our right-of-way area along the road for a connection into a trail, and the deed doesn't prohibit that. This came up with redirection on Vineyard Corridor in Utah County, where the plan was changing, and the Region 3 team came and said, is there any way we can use some of this for trails? And I said, I think so. We just need to fix our standard deeds so in the future, this isn't so difficult. All right, so just showing you where this rail service building is. This is in Springville. And I believe they bring a lot of the coal over the mountains near Highway 6. But this is what the building looks like. All right, the second one is item 7A2. On May 10th, 2024, the Transportation Commission obligated funds to purchase property from Foster Development located on the western boundary of Miners Highway North, 4600 North Street, Enoch, Utah. Did I say that right?
Enoch.
Sister city to Duchesne. The property was appraised at 39,200. The property was sold to O'Reilly's before the transaction could be completed. UDOT would like to deobligate the funds for this purchase in the amount of 39,200. It was a small strip taking. And I'd like to request the advisory board to approve that. You can see here where the location map is.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
That's all.
Thank you.
Can't buy what's not for sale.
These don't happen often, but once in a while.
Will you
they
tell
do.
the president that? That's what I'm coming from. That's where I'm coming from.
What'd you say?
No. So I would like to entertain a
All
second
right.
on the motion. Hold on, we still have the second.
I'm happy to second it and strike what I said from whatever it was. It just was so irresistible. because-
So stricken. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7A-2 is approved. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think I need, have a road abandonment to do.
Yes.
But it's not, like, how do I find it?
Oh, Heather,
Where's Heather?
Where is Heather? We have a help.
I think I'm bad with a mouse trying to find that.
That's the one right there.
Is that you?
I wanna.
8?
There it is.
There we go. How's that?
Thank you, Carrie Ann.
All right. With the completion of a project number FLH 4200, portions of existing State Route 24 were realigned to accommodate the intersection with State Route 95. There is a portion of SR 24 that is no longer used due to the realignment. Therefore, the area is no longer needed for the state highway and is requested at this portion to be abandoned. Show you here's the resolution. Board will sign and location maps. Here's the deed. All right, here's the map. So this portion in purple is being abandoned. The portion in red was surplus. And I believe that one of the state's bigger summer sports, water sports station is there for people to rent paddle boards and rafts and so forth for use on Lake Powell. So the Hanksville is a stop on that route if you're going to do all those water sports on Lake Powell. So I respectfully request approval on this abandonment.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I assume Wayne County Commission is aware of this, or do they need to be aware of it?
Well, they're almost always made aware of this stuff, but is Kirk here? Talk about we have a deep involvement with this site. And I'll let him talk about it.
Yeah, Jared Beard, I'm the Deputy Director for Region 4 and cover this side of the region. Yeah, Bruce, to that question, I don't know that we've specifically talked to the Wayne County Commission on this. This is just kind of an old leftover parcel. UDOT never actually owned this property in fee title, and that's why it's being abandoned the way it is. We can't just sell it off as a surplus parcel.
Okay.
So it was never owned in fee title. As the road was realigned, there's just no need for it anymore. I don't think there's any statutory requirement to notify the county on something like this.
Okay.
So the county will take it back then?
What happens on this one, because it's not owned in fee title, we can't sell it. The property actually is basically split in two between the two adjoining property owners.
Okay.
So,
Well, I know Wayne County has only got about 3% private property in the whole county.
yeah.
And so,
Yeah, and this will basically go back to the adjoining property owner, so.
Oh,
it-
okay.
It will become private property.
Okay.
And two of the adjoining property owners are on the city council. So I think
Okay.
they'll be happy to get the land back.
very good. I'll make a motion, we approve.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 8 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross. Item number 9 on your agenda is County of the First Class Infrastructure Bank Funds, and Leif Elder is on his way.
Hello, Leif Elder, Director of Policy and Legislative Affairs at UDOT. I am pleased that those outgoing commissioners will have one more chance to vote on a rule. This is a commission rule. Okay, and I probably need to do some scrolling here. It's probably what I should be doing. Oh, it's separate document. Let me hit that. No, I tried. I hope I didn't mess it up.
You're just supposed to do this.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, the mouse is slow. Gotcha.
There we go. Awesome. Thank you, Ivan. We have awesome people here. I get help all the time, so. This particular rule is a commission rule, so you own it. And we talked about this last March, or not last March, but just the previous meeting in March. And what'll happen is we're looking for a motion if it pleases you to do so. And what will happen is that this will go to the Office of Administrative Rules, and they'll do kind of a review. Then the governor's office does a review, and if everything's okay, is in order, then it'll be put out for comment for 30 days. And once that 30-day period is over, if there are no comments that we want to react to or make any changes to the rule, then 7 days after that, the rule can go into effect. This one's important because July 1 is when this bank will begin to be funded through the 5th, or the local option sales tax that Salt Lake County has adopted, and they did that in a meeting back in February, I believe. So a portion of that sales tax goes into this fund, and this fund is almost exactly the same as the SIB, the State Infrastructure Bank, except that it is, of course, the County of the First Class Infrastructure Bank, so it's only for projects within the County of the First Class. And the first 49 million or so that goes into the account, there are some projects specified in state statute that they have a priority order. The first 20 million will go to Draper, the next 5 million will go to Harriman, and then $9 million to the First Class County Fund, $4 million to the Metropolitan Water District, $2 million to Draper for construction and expansion. So you kind of get the feel. It'll take a little while before there's money in there for people to come apply for a loan, but there are kind of a schedule of projects as that money comes in, so that you won't have to make any decisions for a little while on that money is my point there.
Remind
So-
me the population thing for first class, county of the first class, the threshold.
Yeah, so the county of the first class it's only Salt Lake County, and it is, I believe, 1 million plus is what it is. And as you've known, the
Just to give you a
legislature is-
reference, Utah County is more like around 700,000. That would be the next closest.
Yeah. And as you know, they've sometimes made changes to those populations, and the cities also have, classes as well. So that doesn't play in here because this is a county bank. But yes. So I just want to point out, again, it works very similar to the state infrastructure bank. So I'm not going to go into the details on that here because you guys have just dealt with that. But this last item on the fact sheet, I want you to know I was responsive to the feedback that you provided back in March. And primarily, we were concerned that, hey, there's places in the rule that mentions grant, and there's also places in the bill that mentions assistance. How are those different? And so we went ahead and defined grant in here. Right here, we define that. And there's this 722302 right here. That's the section of code where it specifically allocates portions of the fund money as grants for projects for one city or another within Salt Lake County. And so we've specifically defined that. The word assistance is already defined here in 722301. So we didn't need to actually define that because it's already defined there. And we say, hey, we're going to use all the definitions that are in this section of code. So both are now defined, and it's clear what each one of those is. I wanted you to know that I'm responsive there. And just in case some of you are like, well, how come nothing's underlined? All of this is new language. Okay, so just picture this as all being underlined as if it's all brand new language because it's a new rule. So that's what I have. If there's any questions, I'm happy to respond to those. But that's kind of the situation. Again, we are looking for a motion, if it pleases you, to move this forward to the Office of Administrative Rules for its next step.
Is there any questions? Anyone?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. My comment is respectfully put the money into it as soon as possible because otherwise you're going to hear from Commissioner Lee. He's going to raise the question, where's the money before you give it away? So that's my comment. With that, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item number 9 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work, Dave. Item number 10 is commission reports, committee reports. So let's go to my right, Commissioner Lee. Anything about your committee report you would like to share? Commissioner Lee. Committee report.
Okay, I weren't quite sure if you were looking at me there.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
I
Okay.
watched- yeah, report.
Thank you for the opportunity. I just want to give some thanks to Region 1 and their director as well as their program manager. I had the opportunity last month to attend a public meeting in Mountain Green dealing with the Trappers Loop and the new freeway the interchange between I-15 and the Trappers Loop and some of the problems in Morgan County there. I've been contacted for months. In fact, I think it was synonymous to when I was appointed to this commission from Morgan County and some of the concerns they have for that particular area. So that public meeting was held last month and I had the opportunity to attend and I was somewhat incognito. I just walked around and listened to people comment. There must have been, and I've got photos on my camera, there must have been 40 big pictures on posters of everything they're doing on that particular interchange. And as I walked around, I listened to the comments from that public meeting, and I was amazed. There was not one comment that I heard in that meeting. I was there over an hour and a half in that meeting that was negative onto what UDOT was doing and how they were handling that particular situation. In fact, it was extremely positive. The only one comment I heard is about removing another ramp that was west of that particular area, a few miles where it enters the freeway, which is a very dangerous ramp. And so most people were very, very supportive. So kudos. I was excited about how that happened and how many people were excited about it. And pretty soon we'll find that those studies are done, and I think we'll be moving forward within the next how many years depends on that. So appreciate that opportunity.
Thank you. Commissioner Cochran?
Nothing to report, just a big thank you to Region 2 and all the great work they do.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans?
I just have to say that when you originally asked me if I do the HTRZ committee, I said yes, and then there were about 3 in a row after that, and then it's like rabbits. Now there's a CCRZ committee, which that committee's doing, and there's probably gonna be a TRZ, JRZ, whatever, but I'm happy to do it. It's just be a part of that and learn about all these places that need to be expanded to help with that. So anyway, we've had some of those meetings recently, and it's great to have Carlos as our voting member of the Mountain Land organization down there, and I'm grateful that he comes down to help us with that. So
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Commissioner Van Tassel?
Thank you, Chairman. It's going to be sad to see you go, but appreciate getting to know you and working with you. Rhonda, same thing. It's been a long time. I'd like to give a shout out to at least part of the Region 3. One of the things that, and we didn't see it here, but one of the things that they've done out there is along Highway 40, which is a heavily traveled route, we went in and cleaned out the right of way, taken down a lot of trees, a lot of brush, and opened those up. And mile marker 102, if it would have been like it is now, I probably wouldn't have hit a deer there, because at least you have enough, that extra second or two that you can see it coming and maybe avoid it. But that is a great project. I don't know where the money came from, but it's well worth, and it might be going on in the other regions too. I don't know. I can't speak for that. But that is a very, I think it helps establish our right of way. 2, it makes it safer. And I want to give you a shout out for that, because it was for me, it's very much appreciated. And the other, the opportunity to, as I watched the Wasatch Regional Council work on these, it's interesting to see all these projects coming. We have a great team of transportation people working throughout the state, from the 4 regions to the commission, to all of the UDOT families, to the Mountain Land, and all of them. And I think it outlines why we're doing what we're doing. I think we're not trying to do it in a vacuum. I think we're trying to get it done. I had a short conversation with Carlton here, and I can see that there's more that we need to do as we continue to work to improve all of the transportation systems. So UTA, thank you for coming, and it was very beneficial. And that's my report.
Thank you.
before you go to Ron, come on, can I say something about Kevin?
Go ahead.
I just want to mention Kevin. He's like an extension of, there's like 2 for the price of 1 for I cover Region 3. But we cover it together because he lives out there. He understands it. And he comes all the way over to Orem for all our meetings. Wherever we have review things. So I just want to say thanks, Kevin, for Mr. Van Tassel. It's great to partner with you because you're an extension of the region and my coverage. And that's invaluable to me. So thanks.
Commissioner Menlove?
Thank you. We met recently with the CMPO, and that's the Cache Metropolitan Planning Organization. And in that meeting, we received a great deal of feedback from the mayors
about challenges with transportation in various parts of the Cache Valley. And that was, it's exciting to see that level of communication happening and the interface with the Region 1 office. Ryan Halverson was there representing Region 1 and did an excellent job talking with the mayors and communicating with them. And Jeff Gilbert does a great job leading that organization. And there are a lot of things happening in Cache Valley. I want to report, if you haven't been in Cache Valley lately, SR 30 is, it's the expansion of SR 30 is amazing. And I might get emotional about this, Carlos, but as a legislator and as a person who commuted from Box Elder County to Utah State University for a number of years, significant number of years, and drove SR 30 every day. SR 30 became a priority for me as a legislator, and Carlos will remember we worked tirelessly to get passing lanes. And now, as I look at what's happening with SR 30, I just feel such great pride in the work that UDOT is doing there to make that route accessible and open up further transportation opportunities in Cache Valley where there's a high need. And I appreciate Rob and his team for engaging with the mayors. There's a great, and county officials, there's a great relationship there and great conversations. And Rob has extended that to meetings, smaller meetings with the mayors or representatives as needed, and the CMPO director, Jeff Gilbert, and they're held quarterly. And those are great meetings. UDOT staff comes with Rob, and we look at issues and do some problem solving. And Rob is, then takes his team and drives over the hill to Rich County. Rich County is thrilled to have attention. They yes. Yes, it is, and it's made a big difference. There are conversations happening now in Rich County, and people are talking. Local government is working more smoothly with transportation issues, and that's expanded to trail discussions that are happening. And we had a major milestone. I'll report. We had an Idaho official meet with us, and then that Idaho official met with some of his colleagues, and they are looking at expanding some trail access around Bear Lake. And Carlos can tell you this is nothing short of a miracle to have this discussion happening in Bear Lake. You would think that Idaho-Utah border was like there was a big fence or something there. But that's been, I can't tell you how exciting that is to me to see that happen. And I'm very selfish about that. My husband and I ride that trail on the east side of Bear Lake. It's very safe. And the Great Separated Trail is great. And we love it and we ride it often. And so I'm a bit selfish there, but this has been a great thing to see happen, this communication, and the community leaders are seeing UDOT as a partner and a friend. And that's tremendous. We've made some inroads in Box Elder County, but there's still work to do. We appreciate the transit work and those discussions that are happening there. There's a great desire. The county commissioners have a great desire to see further access from the transit services into Box Elder County, and we appreciate that. And there even we had a wonderful meeting, Rob and I, with the county commissioners in Box Elder County about trails, and that and Stephanie was there. We had that was amazing. Anyway, it was just amazing, and they came up with ideas and suggestions that we hadn't thought of. So I just want to express my appreciation for corridor preservation as well. That is an amazing concept. Preserving corridors ahead of time and watching what happens while I've served in UDOT when a corridor isn't preserved and what the work that requires. The corridor preservation concept is amazing. And we have a team, our team of corridor preservation people are incredible. I don't know how you get all these bright and smart people
working for you, Carlos, but that group, in just a brief amount of time, they handle property acquisition and handle all of that in a timely way and in a wise financial manner. And so I just, as an outgoing commissioner, I have to tell you how impressed I am with the UDOT organization. And as a former legislator, seeing it from that side, and then now on the commission, it's just been exciting to see UDOT in action. So I thank you, and I thank all the people on the committees. Thank you for putting up with me. Occasionally, I'm a little passionate about things. I know that's hard for any of you who know me to believe, but everyone has been great to listen to me and humor me. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Adams.
Well, I served as a county commissioner for 20 years from San Juan County. And last December, I fired myself. I didn't run again. So I was appointed to the UDOT Commission in December. And last month, I got fired. I was no longer the at-large position and went through the confirmation hearing process again this past month. I have one more step, but there wasn't any opposition this time, which was wonderful. I'm going to give a shout out to all my Region 4 friends that I've made here at UDOT. They have to administer everything, policy and funding for 14 counties out of the 29 in the state of Utah. And it's a lot of miles. It's further for me to drive from Monticello to St. George than it is for me to drive from Monticello to Salt Lake. But I have tried to stimulate the economy in Salt Lake this past month, made several trips up north for various medical things, and I'll continue to do that. I appreciate everything UDOT does to try and make Highway 6 and 191 safe. And I know that's a big process, and we'll continue to work on it. Want to give a shout out to Rhonda and Nagi. Nagi's wife, we discovered this morning, is my second cousin. So I'm going to be more respectful to Nagi and his wife moving forward. Anyway, that's all I've got.
Well, thank you. Yeah, miracles never cease to exist. As of this morning, we're a cousin. Thank you for being there. I always knew that I liked them very much. We served together in the CIB. I always called them cousin anyway, without knowing that we are actually cousins. So thank you. I had the opportunity also to attend my DTAC meeting in St. George, where they prematurely released me from my calling, even though I have told them that I still have one more month to go, and gave me the certificate of appreciation and graduated me to go home. So we will have a CIB meeting this coming month. And that's all my report. Carlos?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and commissioners, for the time you've given to us yesterday. I mean, yesterday was a long meeting, and we hope that was informative for you. We're laying some heavy decisions on you, and we hope that that workshop helps make it easier, or at least gives you the information you need to make that decision. As you look at that information, if you feel you have any questions, concerns, please reach out. Let's continue the conversation that you were also good to have yesterday. So thank you for your time, first of all, and apologize again for being late. The governor announced a new initiative, signed a new executive order, refers to it as GRIT, Government Innovations and Efficiency. And so we're going to continue the journey that the department's been on since the mid-90s. And we share with you our innovations and efficiency reports every year on what we do. And so we're excited that the governor's taking the approach that he is. This is very much a bottoms-up approach, looking at outcomes not just, dollars saved, but are we improving outcomes for Utah citizens? And so we look forward to engaging all of our employees, all of our customers, our partners at, the MPOs, the transit, consultants, contractors, to look for ways to do better, deliver our projects faster, at lower costs, get better outcomes. Really, at the end of the day, it's about saving lives and making people's lives better. So we're excited for that. And again, thank you for the time you give to us.
Thank you, Carlos. Lisa?
I just want to say a quick thank you to Nagi and Rhonda for the time that they've dedicated to the commission and to all of us here. Thank you for all your kind words for our folks. And we're looking forward to lunch and hanging out with you a little bit longer.
Thank you, Lisa. Ben?
Just want to echo Carlos and Lisa with a thank you. Thank you, Nagi. Thank you, Rhonda. And thank you all for yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you. Region directors? Anything you want to talk, report? Deputy directors? Well, our next meeting of the commission will be in exotic town of Roy. So calendar for June 26th and 27th. What is the remaining of the, Heather, what is the remaining of the agenda for today? What is remaining of the agenda for today? What are we doing? Okay. Shall we offer our closing remarks and addresses before lunch, or you want to do after lunch, Carlos?
I suggest we end the meeting and then we can reset up this room
Okay.
and then we can see what time we're at there. It's going to
Okay.
take us at least 15 minutes to
Okay.
set things up.
But if we get it sooner, we'll start sooner. Sounds great.
So with that, I would like to have my last motion to adjourn. Rhonda?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. It's not debatable. Thank you. Yeah, if you want to stay around, we will have the opportunity to say officially goodbye to you.